Hey, Slick Talkers, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. And I know that if you love this show, you'll also love my morning show called Good Morning Hospitality with my co hosts Michael Golden and Brandy Canali, as we spend 30 minutes every Monday morning to dive into the industry's top latest news and trending topics. So go check it out on wherever you find your podcasts at Good Morning Hospitality. And you can live stream with us on Monday mornings on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Now, I hope you enjoy this episode.
You know, it just spurs us on to greater things. It shows us that we're doing something great. We're making a difference in people's lives. We're delivering fantastic vacation experiences. And I'm hoping that that can be a model for others in our industry, you know, to inspire others to do the same. We can all lift each other up. You know, we can all make a difference. There's so many opportunities to provide a better vacation experience.
Welcome to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast where we discuss all things hospitality, hotels, and business. You can find us online at slicktalkthepodcast.com and on every podcast listening platform.
People who are wired to create remarkable experiences that are anticipated and shared. This is the definition of a true Destinationaire. If you've been following the show for a while, you would have recognized that earlier this year of 2020, we did the first ever Destinationaire Award. This award was a huge success with over 50 nominations from around the world. From these nominations, only 5 received the title Destinationaire. In this 3-part series, you're going to hear from 3 of them, Bob, Jessica, and Robin. We're going to learn from what they've done to grow their business and to become a Destinationaire, and how they plan to continue to grow and serve our industry and our guests. This is more than just being a hospitality provider or a property manager. This is about offering true experience, creating real moments, and connecting on a deeper level. Now follow along, because this is an experience you will not want to miss. All right, everybody, welcome back to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. I'm your host, Will Slickers. Today, I am joined by Robin Craigen, who is the CEO and founder of Moving Mountains, based out in Colorado. Thank you for joining me. You are also one of the amazing Destinationaire winners, and so I'm really honored to have you on the show and kind of get to pick your brain.
Thanks, Will. I'm super excited to be here, and I have to start off by correcting you immediately because I'm a co-founder of Moving Mountains. This is definitely a partnership with myself and my wife, and I could not do what we do without her, and obviously the rest of our incredible team that work with us now. But it's exciting to be here, and I've been following your podcast over the last few months, and very interested in the way that you've kind of branched into the world of vacation rentals. And it's actually very interesting just to follow the conversations you've had with your connections in the hotel world, and just realize that, you know, it's how much common ground there is in hospitality, and how, you know, we can all steal ideas from each other, and we can all look at each other's strengths. And so I've been enjoying those conversations. It's great to be part of this.
Well, I'll start off by saying, if your wife is listening, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, my wife, Heather. We can even name her here.
Yes, Heather, if you're listening right now, you get full credit too as well. So my apologies on that one.
I might still get dinner tonight if I'm lucky, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, no, it's been really fun with the show. I agree with you that I think that's why I've been dabbling more into like hotels and vacation rentals at the same time, just because I think you're right. We have a lot to learn from both sides, and there's a lot more common ground than we'd expect. And I love both of them. I have a background with hotels and Marriott, and then of course I vacation rental company myself. So it's like being in both worlds, and I like sharing both of it. So it's fun. But
I feel like you've crossed to the dark side.
No, we can't. Maybe not dark side, but yeah, maybe. But it's still really fun, and I think if one day I'll own a hotel, and well, I'll be in both, and I won't be on the dark side as much.
There you go.
One day. Well, Robin, I really want to jump into kind of your story a little bit. I think you have a pretty unique story. You have some amazing experience with hospitality in an aspect I don't think we've ever covered on the show, with sailboating and just the type of adventures you've had. And then, of course, kind of leading into what moving mountains is today
Sure.
and what you guys do.
Well, it definitely has been an interesting and a long journey. Um, to get to where we are today, I almost find it hard to believe when I say to people that moving mountains has been growing. This will be our 23rd winter
Wow.
that we're going into. But I've had a long and very interesting career in travel, and I feel like hospitality is something that has always been a part of that. And this goes right back to my very early days pre business school, where I was working for my uncle in travel in up in the north of Scotland. And he was a tour operator, and he gave me my first kind of window on what travel experiences are all about. And it was very custom and personal, and small tours, that kind of thing. And that interest and that passion continued through college, where I was involved in the ski club. I was running the ski club and running ski trips out to Europe. And as I completed my business degree, I wasn't quite done with travel. So I decided that I wanted to have this experience, which is very, very popular in the UK, of going to do a ski season and working in a ski resort. And so I followed that passion, and decided that if I didn't do it at that time, then maybe I was never going to get to do it. I didn't want to see myself just jump into a job that would confine me to vacations just like everybody else. And so I jumped at that chance. And I think that was the first time I was actively really involved in welcoming guests to a destination and being part of making that experience fun. I ran a bar in a ski resort in France, and it was an amazing time, which led to experience of doing something similar in the Greek islands, which led to the opportunity actually that came down the road was to get more involved, realizing I couldn't be a seasonaire, as they called that position at that time. I couldn't just live from one season to the other. I didn't really want to do it that way. So got more involved in the business, and went into partnership with the people from the ski business, set up a summer activity program that ended up being sold on to another big travel group. And I began sort of a career at that time in travel in London. And my big pivot, as I probably would call it, would be when the Gulf War happened in '91. Someone walked into our offices and said, well, we're looking to reduce staff by 30%. And to be honest, my transition from being entrepreneurial, running a small business and having sold it to a larger company, I became less passionate about the business at that point. And I said, maybe this is my moment. I'm going to jump off this bus and do something different. Spent a little time in the Greek islands that summer, and came back with the idea that there was a much bigger world for me to go and see. And I decided I was going to pursue a passion I had for sailing, and ended up doing a transatlantic crossing on a sailboat, ending up in the Caribbean. And I had taken the time before this trip to get a captain's license, because I knew how to sail from being a kid, but decided that, or I'd been really kind of clued into, if you have a captain's license, there's employment opportunities here. So I arrived in the British Virgin Islands in '91, and began picking up work as a charter yacht captain, taking people around the most spectacular British Virgin Islands, one of the most incredible places to take a sail vacation. And I realized, that once again, I was back in the driving seat as far as being able to create these great experiences for people, because, you're there to keep them safe, but you're also a very big part of their experience. So that's a very short elevator pitch of how I got to the islands, where I met my wife Heather, and one way or another we ended up working together, running a very beautiful luxury sailing yacht together. We became a couple, and we always jokingly say we managed to kick the owner off of his own boat and took over the show, and began a 4-year journey of running that boat together. And I think that was so that is the foundation. That's the kind of the cradle of the Moving Mountains idea, because when we were working together, we worked for a guy who, I always said that the great thing about Barry is he makes it possible with this boat and his philosophy for us to give people the best vacations of their lives. And that was something that I realized that we really enjoyed and really kind of lived to hear on a week by week basis.
Mm-hmm.
And as we started thinking, after we had done that job for 4 years, we were starting to think about, well, what are we doing next? We actually had gotten married in that time, and we were looking to our future, and we were inspired to come to Colorado because of some guests that had been on the boat with us. And we really had the idea that Moving Mountains, our original business idea was to buy one chalet and to run that as a fully catered, full service experience, very much like we did on the yacht.
Mm-hmm.
And so the business was called Moving Mountain Chalet. It was not Moving Mountains, it was not chalets, but those were all stages that came later as we started doing this and realizing that we'd found something that not only were we doing something we wanted to do, but we were in a place where people wanted to come here and they loved this experience, and the business just naturally started to grow. So that was 23 years ago, and here we are. We run over 100 properties. We've expanded into Vail and Beaver Creek. Our home base is Steamboat, but we're following the lead of our guests who are saying that they want to have these great experiences in other places. So letting the guests pull us down a path of growth.
Wow, that's an incredible background. You literally take like the hospitality journey from like literal destinations, which is super cool. And I remember hearing you on Matt Landau's podcast on Lockton. You talked about when you were in the Greek islands, what were you doing in order to make a living when you kind of
Yeah, this is my humble origins, but you go from running a travel company in a big bustling city like London to living on a beach and finding a way to make a living just making friendship bands. But I've always had this like entrepreneurial streak of like, well, if I can make this work, then maybe this is something I should do. I never made a full-time career out of friendship bands, but I made a pretty good living generating enough money for beer and food for a couple of months. So I think it's a good place to go back to and say, you don't always have to, you don't measure your life and your riches in terms of how much money is rolling into your bank account. You can measure that in terms of the experiences you're having. And, windsurfing in the Greek islands is a pretty good way to spend the day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think beer and food is all I would really need too if I could live on the beach. So that sounds pretty damn good, to be honest. Maybe I just stop podcasting for a couple months and go do that myself.
I highly recommend it. Actually, there are definitely times when I think about the simpler life.
Yeah,
we certainly have a very busy life right now.
Exactly. Well, and I think it's super cool how that kind of like segues into meeting Heather and then kicking the owner off his boat to run it. and now what Moving Mountains is today. And so you have over 100 properties. You're based in Colorado.
Yeah.
And so a question that came to mind when you were telling your story was, I wanted to ask, did you find that your success with like Moving Mountains and stuff has a lot to do with your experience in the UK versus in hospitality and other countries in Europe where, I don't know, it just seems like all these experiences that you offer with Moving Mountains, private dinners and chalets and all this other stuff is not really common here in the United States.
I think I got some of my ideas. The travel business is not a simple business, maybe not as simple as it might look from the outside, but for me, I benefit from cumulative experiences that I've had. Obviously, business school teaches you about the fundamentals about how a business works, but seeing and experiencing different people, enjoying their travel experiences really kind of helps you understand. I feel the foundation of this is that the travel industry is a very important thing, or a vacation is a very important thing for so many people. And there's so many uncertainties to travel and vacation experiences. We all have these hopes and dreams about what it's going to be like, but is it going to be as great as you expect or hope? And it's much easier to find a story about a travel nightmare or to think about something, to remember something that went wrong. It's concerning to think that not every vacation exceeds your expectations. So as I became more involved in that, I feel like my opportunity is to meet that challenge of helping someone have a great experience. So that's the kind of thing I did with people in the Greek islands that, yeah, I mean, they were renting a villa from us and staying in a place with beautiful beaches, but, arranging a barbecue at sunset, and creating something unexpected and really fun and having fun together. That really that was something that took it to the next level. And I think that when we had that experience of working on Endless Summer, the yacht in the British Virgin Islands, then, we really saw that go to another level. We knew the secret spots that people wanted to snorkel that maybe weren't busy at certain times of the day. We learned, where's a fun bar that you can get to that, you can go and have lobster lunch, fresh caught on the beach. When you get there, go snorkeling and then come back and have lobster for lunch on a like a deserted island in the British Virgin Islands. I mean, experiences like that people take home, and you remember that they treasure those memories for, forever. And that's time that they got to spend with their family. And then you can be in the background, basically making that happen without the stress and the worry. You take that away from them. So, moving mountains was, born out of an idea that a ski vacation is a complicated vacation. And quite honestly, there are times when I wonder why people get on a plane in the middle of winter. They travel to the mountains, which are spectacular and beautiful, but even the journey from the airport can be challenging on a snowy day.
Yeah.
And our goal is to eliminate every stress and worry that can come from that. So we say literally try to get yourself to the local airport. Both resort areas that we're in are within 40 minutes of a pretty good size airport. So you can fly direct, and that's how the majority of our guests travel. And the idea being that once you arrive, that you're truly on vacation. And we always paint that picture. The catered chalet experience that we offer is, you walk into the home and the smell of dinner being prepared is already in the air. There's a chef there. Your lift tickets are already on the counter. Your ski schools all prearranged. So you're on vacation from the minute you get here, instead of the experience that I fear that many people have of spending their first day standing in line at the store, stocking a house with food, having to go buy lift tickets, and not really having a plan for the day. I mean, it is, skiing in itself is physically tough, and then, the vacation itself can be exhausting. And so for those that can afford a little bit better of an experience, that's kind of what we're there for, is to eliminate the hassle, to eliminate the stress, and to deliver these great experiences that there's so many ways that you can make it just a little bit better than they expect.
Yeah, that's exactly the Destinationaire concept in action. And so that's why I think this episode for me is just really, really fun to get to dive into, because you're literally living and breathing it. And so for the audience members that don't maybe understand, like, what kind of detail goes into creating that? Like, you guys have to obviously do a lot of extra work, getting ski tickets and the lifts and picking up from the airports and private chefs. So like, what does that look like?
Well, I think it's like everything from the ground up. It takes a lot with the kind of high-end properties that we're working with. There's a tremendous amount of detail and systems and things to check. And I know it sounds very basic, but checking that the Wi-Fi is working for every single guest, so that when the guest walks in, that's almost the first thing that they want to know is, what's the Wi-Fi code? Obviously, making sure that the house is immaculately clean, making sure, my kind of rule of thumb is I don't want to see anything that's in a home that's not working. I don't want to see frayed cords on the blinds. I don't want to see, I don't think our guests want to walk in and and feel that they have to shovel the snow off the deck. So
Mhm.
it starts with preparing the house, which, one of the things that's exciting about our business now is we have an incredible team of people. In the winter, as many as 50 or 60 staff,
Wow.
all providing exceptional services and thinking about how they can do that as well as they can. The second part is to what you were saying about things that you can do to make it easier for the guest. We have a team that once we have the lodging reservation confirmed, that they begin working with the guest to make sure that every other detail is planned out. We want the guest to have an itinerary, to have a game plan so that they can maximize this vacation time when they arrive. So it's getting engaged with them and saying, would you like us to stock groceries in the house? Would you be interested in having a personal chef? Um, how are you getting from the airport to the resort? Would you be interested in having the fully catered package or the full experience that way? That's not what we do for the majority of the guests. It's just for a handful. It's sort of our top tier offering, but
Yeah.
we've built our model around providing solutions to the challenges. So for us to make it easy for a guest to reserve how they get from the airport to the town and what the check-in procedure is going to be like, and smoothing that out as best as possible, reassuring them that they can have all the food and wine stocked into the house so they don't spend their first afternoon shopping. I mean, I think that's a huge
Mhm.
win. And if you measure the value of your own time times the number of people in your group, for us to be able to take care of those details, I just don't see how you can really lose.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, and the fact that it's an option, it doesn't have to be done.
Right.
If I'm going with my 3 kids and wife or whatever, and I like to drop them off at the house and go grocery shopping myself, then I have that option. But if I want to just literally to be hands free, then the option of being picked up and having that stocked and walking into dinner, and then the key or the ski passes are right there. Like that is just kind of the option of I think well catered and concierge.
I agree, and I feel that you have to listen to every single guest and understand what their goals are. At the same time as we're trying to help them realize this is what we can do for you.
Yeah.
Your expectations of a beautiful home, we're going to deliver on that. But if you'll let us to do more, you'll have a better time. And I feel that the guests who return with us oftentimes I think that the first time people stay with us, they're not realizing just how much we will do. But
Hmm.
it doesn't take long before they start to notice that really everyone in our team is listening and looking for what else can we do to make sure that your experience is perfect. And I had an incredible takeaway from another property manager who's actually here in this town. Sarah Bradford from Steamboat Lodging Company, and she shared this podcast story about the face of your business.
Hmm.
And I feel like that is something that we were able to use that story to really help our staff understand that I'm I may be the person who's in the CEO role, but I'm surely not the day-to-day face of our business.
Hmm.
And it is our maintenance guys, and it is our shuttle drivers, and it is our staff that are actually out in front of our guests. And it's their job. They need to know that it's their job to listen to the guests and find out what else are we missing, or what else could we do to help you. And it's right down to the details of what you're teaching them is, can you find out something that the guest wouldn't pick up the phone and call us about? Is it
Hmm.
the squeaky door in the bathroom? Is it the dripping faucet or something like that? That if we could clue into that and we can get that fixed by the time they get back from skiing, then that's an expectation exceeded.
Yeah, and it goes into like the normal hospitality practice of anticipating the guest needs before they know they need it. Just kind of like,
Right.
okay, what would if I was staying here, if this door was squeaking, I probably wouldn't tell the front desk or tell anybody there, but it would still be annoying in the back of my head. And so being able to recognize that as a provider of service is really key, and I love that you said that. Um, One of the questions I originally had planned was to ask why you love doing what you do in order to offer this higher service. But I actually want to shift into what's one of your favorite moments or memories that reminds you of why you love doing what you do.
You know, yeah, it's hard to think of one in particular. I think of it's that saying, that same saying. This has been one of the best vacations we've ever had.
Mhm.
And I realized that from when we got to know some of these guests that sailed with us on the yacht, and realizing the great travel experiences that they had, that they were comparing this to. And when you start to hear that kind of feedback, you realize that that doesn't come easy. And I don't take it for granted. And I realize just when we get surveys back from our guests now, and not only just a survey with a score, but many times with a personal thank you for creating something that was so much better than they experienced. And that validates, for not just for me, but for our whole team, about why this is why we do what we do.
Mhm.
And this is why the second time that people call, it's really not as if you're competing to sell them a commodity. They're calling you because they want to have another experience similar or even better than the last time that they stayed with us at Moving Mountains. So, they realize after the first time that they stayed with us that, yes, we will move a mountain for you guys. That's what it takes. We want to make sure you will go home as a happy guest. That's what we live for. Um, as far as you were looking for a specific story, I'm gonna have to think
It,
here.
it's okay if you don't. I think that, I just love I think of guests that I've had, from my times with Marriott and like even my last hotel before I took on podcasting full time. Like I just think about the relationships and the funny memories, like the basketball teams that would come in for a tournament and how year after year they would remember, me giving them an extra drink at happy hour or, like whatever, just like the stuff.
Well, I could go back many times to people that, Heather and I ran this company literally by ourselves for the first 3 or 4 years, and we didn't have a lot of help, so we were the front line, we were the face of the company at that point.
Mhm.
And I've heard you talk about this too. Is like you made personal connections with people that still live on today.
Yeah,
I have a
100%.
guest who stayed with us the very first year that we were open. Came for his wife's 40th birthday party. Brought his kids when they were 7 or 8 years old, and we connected because he loves playing Scrabble on vacation, and I'm a big Scrabble fan too. So we started playing Scrabble together, and as they came back, year after year, it developed into the World Series of Scrabble, which I always joke about how everything in the U.S. is the World Series of something, even though no other countries are invited to play. So. So we have celebrated our World Series of Scrabble, and I think we've had probably 10 or 11 championships over the years. We still joke about the last time that we played till 3 o'clock in the morning before finally, on a decider in a 7-game series, that somehow I managed to win on a what is it, it's a tiebreaker when you have the same score, and we both had to get out the rules and look at, like, well, when you have the same score on the end on the 7th game, then there has to be a way that you decide. And it was sort of on a count back that I squeaked out the win. So he's never let me forget that. But I feel like that, this relationship conversation, this is about a relationship business. And
Yeah.
I've said to my team in the past is, what kind of a business are we in? And are we in the property management business? Are we in the hospitality business? And I truly believe that we're actually more in the relationship business. And it is the strength of the relationships is what keeps the business alive. So that's why we so value the relationship that we have within our team. There's a lot of time spent in terms of building trust and making sure that we're all playing by the same to the same standard and by the same rules and with the same goals. And the strength of relationship that you have with guests who trust us with their great vacation plans.
Mhm.
And the same would be said of the relationships we've built with community players, our vendors, our guys who will come fix the hot tub on Christmas Eve, who'll get up from dinner because they know that that's an important part of how we all work together. That's what keeps the show on the road. That's where you add value. You got to look for those opportunities, and relationship is everything. I thought about your story about how you were able to do something that maybe shouldn't have done, but for a guest, I think it was a guest whose daughter was sick, and I was just listening to that yesterday and just realizing, those are the moments. Those are the moments that if you blink, you can miss them. A moment to make a connection with anyone at any time.
Yeah. No, it's that's something that, I couldn't have said it better myself, because I've been preaching, like, it's
Right.
moments. We have moments. Every day we make a decision. We make multiple decisions. We have things in front of us, and it's super easy. Like, I'm guilty of it. Like, especially when I first started out at the front desk, like, there's a moment right there in front of me, and I'm concerned about, completing the check-in more than I am about, thinking of that certain issue, or maybe just a slight comment that a guest can make, that doesn't really sound like a problem, but they're making the comment for a reason, and
Right.
you don't take, you don't act on it. But I think there's just so many opportunities like that, and what you said about relationships is huge, and I wanted to talk to you about that, because I feel like when you talk about, repeat guests and guests coming back a second time or a third or a fourth, there is a relationship from the moment, they booked the first time, but now seeing it carry on through multiple times kind of goes into, like, the direct booking topic, and what that all entails. But I think when people think about direct bookings, they think about, like, the OTAs being bad and, like, all this other stuff, but then it's really not the OTAs are bad, but it's really the relationships and the moments that we create with our guests, whether they book direct or with an OTA, will continue to represent that.
I think it's the push and the pull of the fact that travel business is a business at the same time.
Yeah.
And so at some point you're obviously you want to make sure that you're profitable and that you're successful in a financial sense, as well as, a delivery of service, that kind of thing. And, with the larger businesses, I don't envy anybody working in a hotel with 1,000 rooms, trying to provide exceptional service on a personal level to that kind of degree. And it's what almost scares me about the idea of growing our business. I think in Steamboat Springs, we're pretty much at the sweet spot. The idea of Moving Mountains being 500 properties or 1,000 properties in one ski destination, I'm really not sure that we could deliver service on that level. I think that that's the great challenge for anyone who's in a larger scale business. You rely, I'm not sure that it's achievable at the same level. So I'll go back to, I think that that's our opportunity, is understanding that this is what we're here to provide, and we can't provide that same level of service to everybody. So we focus on, the 100 properties that we're managing in Steamboat, the 30 properties that we're managing in the Vail Valley, making sure that we can deliver the same level of service and relationship strength, build that relationship up with each of those guests. You have to, we're fortunate in that we're able to do this, but to celebrate success at every moment, it means that you can kind of, that nothing becomes like a conveyor belt. Because I think if the business becomes like you were saying about checking in 500 people in one day, I can't imagine what that experience is like, because we put so much energy into 20 or 30 groups checking in one day. That each of them are getting a personal property tour, let's say post-COVID. We'll go back to those days, as we're having to do that virtually right now. But really we spend about an hour with every guest on arrival, trying to make sure that they're settled into their home and that we've really got everything ready for them, because we want them to have a great experience without us hovering over them the whole time. You can't provide that at scale. And it's where Moving Mountains is in a different place to someone who has 1,000 condos to fill. And I call that the commodity end of the market. when you've just got condos that are much like the other, maybe 50 or 100 or 200 in the same building. That's very different to the experience that we're able to offer in a private luxury home with a spectacular view over the mountain with a private hot tub. We're selling experience all day long against the commodity end of the market, where those transactions are happening because someone was able to click and buy something for a few bucks less than the next guy.
Yeah,
it's not really where we see ourselves.
Exactly. And I've been thinking of that, like the term heads and beds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the type of model where it's like the lower experience. It's really not the personal greeting at every, reservation or check-in. It's not the private chef. Those are like the heads and beds. But I like to talk like just actually was thinking about this morning before our recording was there's heads and beds for that model. But I feel like for your guys' model, it's moments and moments. It's hand in hand, and obviously COVID, we can't say hand in hand right now, but I think like that's the difference of heads and beds, which is a great model. Obviously I get it. Like we're in the business world as well, but the moments and moments, and that's where it comes to like the guest experience and really creating like that relationship. It's not just
so to your point about the OTAs and the direct booking conversation, our model is very well suited, and it sounds perfectly natural to think that why would somebody book with Moving Mountains on Airbnb? Why would they book on Vrbo? Why would they use booking.com, some of these other platforms? And the reality is that I think they do this because they're still learning about companies like ours. We're still somewhat of a niche. So we have formed many relationships that I think have exceeded people's expectations because they set the bar pretty low by booking through a platform in the first place. They just thought they were booking an Airbnb. And what they realize when they stay with us is that actually we're doing a whole lot more for them. And many of those lead to long-term direct booking relationships in the future. So that's one subset of our clients that, yes, a small percentage of them do come to us, do find us through OTAs. So the value of the OTAs, it allows you to reach more people. From a business perspective, we're trying to get in front of as many people as possible. And then, we're very fortunate with the internet that the internet allows a small company like ours to target a clientele that's seeking a luxury experience, seeking out luxury lodging, and something more than just a unit. We don't even allow that word. That there's a certain small vocabulary that's not allowed at Moving Mountains, and the U word is one of them.
That's music to my ears. I love that.
So, we're fortunate that through our marketing efforts that we can reach many of the people that are looking for the services that we offer. The internet, I feel, arrived at the perfect time for us. We were clued into that from our days of working on the boat and working for an owner who was trying to find clientele for his yacht using 800 numbers that were very expensive out of the US. And when the internet came along, it was a game changer for his marketing. So when we arrived in Colorado, then I think the internet, back in 97 was still pretty much in its infancy. Online booking was not a thing. It was very rare. Even VRBO, as it was back then, was still a very small, very not quite so fancy listing site, but it was very functional. And that was the first opportunity that you had to get in front of more people. Because up to that point, renting a home in the mountains, if you can believe it, you'd advertise in the classified section of the local paper, and someone who wanted to come to Colorado would somehow seek out a copy of that, maybe take it home from their last vacation and say, you know what, I'm going to rent one of those houses the next time I come back here. And it was really, in some cases, I think it was literally keys left under the doormat. The very early days of vacation rentals. We've come such a long way since then.
No, that's very true. That's crazy just to think about. Like 97. Well, I was born in 95, so it's quite a time
Thanks.
ago.
You just made me feel really old.
I'm sorry. uh, we won't talk about that anymore.
You and I can go for a bike ride when you're next in Colorado. We'll see if we can level the playing field now.
Okay, I was gonna say you'll kick my ass on that one just because I think I have quarantine shape right now. It's not been the best.
Not been good for you.
Exactly. Well, I was gonna, and that, speaking of quarantine, I think this is a good kind of like wrap up of the episode. And to you, I think everyone, no matter what market, took a hit in April and
No
March.
question.
But do you feel like maybe the luxury market took less, or has that maybe even recovered faster just because of the type of clientele? Or have you guys, like, I kind of walk me through your guys' journey with this whole new era we're in?
Well, I'll take, it's easy to go back because it's still such a fresh memory, but to go back to the memory of this ski season, we were on track to have our best winter that we'd ever had. We had fantastic snow on the ground. We had great snow all season. So that's kind of the icing on the cake. So firing on all cylinders, but seeing this thing coming over the horizon and just hoping and praying that we were going to somehow navigate our way through March, and finding out at literally 30 minutes notice on the 15th of March that the ski area was not going to open on Sunday morning, having checked in 60 groups into homes. I still think that we're still a little bit in shock as to what that experience looked like, because it was crushing for our team to have to then reverse engines on everything that they'd arranged for groups coming in for the next 2 weeks, the last two, almost the biggest weeks of the season. March is, everything is in full swing. If I was to say what was the positive, well, the positive was it didn't happen in January. It happened and we lost the last 2 weeks of the season. So every business, not just the luxury end of the market, everyone took a huge economic blow that you can never put that money back on the table. So that's a crushing end to a fantastic season, and then a very difficult period, just emotionally and mentally, of the uncertainty of the next 6 weeks. I feel like, we hunkered down in our homes. We had to scramble to get everybody working remotely. Thank goodness that we have a VoIP phone system. And we seemed like we had all the technology pieces in place that we could do that. I bought just about every laptop I could get my hands on. And so in about a month, we were back on our feet in terms of being able to continue functioning. And I feel like everybody went through a very traumatic and stressful time there. I really give it to our team. I mean, we all try to lift each other up and get each other through it. And we had, Zoom social hours. It was such a strange feeling too, to be physically separated from everybody. We're a very close team. So the relationship part of just not seeing each other on a daily basis, we realized how much over the last few months we've had to adjust to that. But, we had to work with other lodging partners to convince our local government that we could operate responsibly. I think we all upped our game, as happened around the country, with regards to housekeeping and messaging that, and making sure that we were being as safe as we could, and really showing that we would be responsible and do whatever. And so we were given the green light to open in June, and kind of interesting to see that, people want to come up here. We were actually, the next thing we were worried about is just about every event that fills the calendar up here was canceled. No rodeo, no music fest, no nothing, and these events are events that bring people to the mountains. And all of a sudden, there's nothing on the table. And we're thinking, well, we know it's beautiful, but does the rest of the world? Well, as it turns out, the rest of the world has realized that, they could be in the mountains. So why not come for a month? And so we had a very kind of slow ramp up. And then all of a sudden, the summer just kind of exploded. The second half of summer pretty much made up for the losses of the spring, the May and June thing. So feeling good about that, and actually realizing that people's confidence in returning to travel. Our next big dilemma is everything that we did in the summer was connected to, well, we were a good drive market in the summer. So we we realized that people are comfortable getting in a car, driving to the mountains, and having a great experience in a vacation home because it was private and safe and secure and clean and all the rest of it. And we were a very strong mask wearing community, so it was evident that everyone was taking this seriously. So I think people felt very good about coming to a place like this and feeling like they were in about as safe as place as they could be, no worse than being in the city that they came from. With the winter, we're worried about, are people going to get on airplanes? Because we're much more of a fly market. People fly to Steamboat Springs and Vail and Beaver Creek from all over the world. We've definitely lost the international traveler for now, but we were very concerned about whether domestic travelers would come from the big cities on the East and the West Coast. And what I'm seeing in the last month is some very, very positive signs. So I feel, we're building all the time, our confidence, the confidence of our community, the confidence of our guests, continuing to walk the ridgeline. You can't really step off one direction or the other. This still is something that could surprise us every day. Yeah. I'm not willing to concede that it's going to be a season just like any other. I'd love to get back to worrying about just if it was going to snow or not. The big dilemma is used to say, it's great having a business model that's tied to the performance of the weather.
Yeah, especially when it snowed, which is probably less reliant than anything.
We're very lucky. We obviously are in a place where snow is something to be expected, not hoped for. Yeah. So it's just how much snow we're going to have and how great it's going to be. In 23 years, I feel that we've realized that we landed in an incredibly good spot. So as you can see from my virtual background here on our call, that's an everyday picture for us in the winter.
See, and I'm not a cold person. I really I've grown up in Washington, and it's not cold like, snow all the time, but it's rain and not fun.
Mm-hmm. I grew up in England, so I know rain.
Yes, exactly. So I'm I'm a sun person, but seeing that whole virtual background's got me damn, I actually might want to go there for a month and take you up on that bike ride.
Yeah, well, we do see a lot of sun. I mean, that's the one thing you would say about the weather here in the winter is it's either snowing like crazy, more snow than you've ever seen in your life, or the sun comes out and we have these incredible blue sky days, and it's truly the most magical place to spend a bit of time. So I'm actually looking forward to the winter.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm jealous of that picture, so I'm oh, maybe it wouldn't be too bad. It's a great,
you gotta
great
come
view.
See it.
I will. I have to. We got some projects in the works. Trust me.
Yeah, live streaming from Colorado. That could be the next thing, right?
There we go. Let's do it. You could be my co-host for a week or two, or maybe a month. Who knows how long?
Done. I'm in.
Perfect. Well, Robin, I appreciate you, of course, taking the time to do this with me. I've really enjoyed getting doing the Destinationaire award process was really fun to dive into your company, and we read reviews and we looked at the marketing and we looked at your direct booking platform and we looked at your socials and just all the other stuff, and it was really cool to experience that part before getting to meet you, and then now seeing it all into flourishing and understanding why you were of course a recipient of the award is now in full picture and full effect.
Well, I can't tell you how much that means to me and to Heather and to our team. I mean, it's validation for us of why we do what we do. Yeah. To be recognized, to be nominated by our peers, and to be recognized from within the industry, that's an incredible honor for us. It doesn't, it just spurs us on to greater things. It shows us that we're doing something great. We're making a difference in people's lives. We're delivering fantastic vacation experiences. And I'm hoping that can be a model for others in our industry, to inspire others to do the same. We can all lift each other up. We can all make a difference. There's so many opportunities to provide a better vacation experience for people. And, so I'm hoping that this award goes on to be bigger and better than ever. I think you found a really great way to recognize strength and success in our industry, and I'm truly honored to be considered alongside of other people that were given this award this year. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys, you set the standard very high. So I'm like, it was hard for this year. I'm like nervous for next year and the year after, and as the time goes on. So setting very high standards out the gate is always a nice success to see that it's at least it's out there. The concept is out there, and you guys live it and breathe it, and so that's what made me happy, and I was excited. So again, just really glad to get to meet you and talk to you on the podcast. Do you have any final thoughts or comments that you like the audience to take away from this episode, or just from your life's experience in the industry?
You and I talked about this before we got started on the show. Is that I think for me that the thing I truly appreciate where we have landed is that when you find something that you're passionate about, something that you enjoy doing, and there's many moving parts to providing a great experience, whether it's on a yacht or in a chalet in the mountains. There's a lot of parts that aren't exciting about that, but when you're passionate about why you do it, because for us, as I said, it's about, can you get that guest to say that was one of the best vacations you've ever had? Then I feel like everything else makes sense, and everything else, it doesn't feel like you're working. That's the advice I want to give to my teenagers, is find something you're passionate about, because that's going to mean more to you than the paycheck. And I feel very fortunate that I found a life partner through my wife, Heather, who shares that same passion. And I'm very fortunate that we have a team of people that work with us. There's no way that Heather and I could do everything that happens now. And it sort of lifts us up even further to realize that we've managed to inspire, 25 full-time year-round staff who are all working in their individual areas, but all living to hear that the guest had the best experience ever. And we raise our glasses on that kind of experience all the time. So for me, that's my takeaway, is I feel very fortunate to have found that. I think it's out there. I think if you're doing another job and it's not making your heart sing, and you're not excited to go to work, that people have said to me, well, how do I get to do what you're doing? I mean, I just love to do what you're doing. And I'm like, sell your house and move to that place and start doing it. That's the only way. And we've been fortunate to do it. We've made it happen. I don't want to say it was easy, but it's certainly very satisfying.
I agree. Find your way to make friendship bracelets and for food and beer a day, and find.
There was a time when that was my passion too, And so I was as good at that as I could be, and I might have had a short run with that one, but everything happens for a reason, and you can learn from everything you've done. And if that just gave me the confidence to say, well, I can do this one thing and kind of enjoy it was a bit kind of a cheeky spin on life, moving from a city like London to living on the beach in the Greek islands, making friendship bands. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that, right? For a few weeks.
Exactly. I love it for a few weeks. Well, that's awesome. And thank you again, Robin. And for all the Slick Talkers, all the information will be in the show notes. So make sure you check out all the links for Moving Mountains, for their website, their socials, everything. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much for listening. We love your support and want to provide the best we can to all our listeners. So please find us online, social media, and on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast.
What's up, everybody? If you've gotten this far into the episode of Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast, then you are amazing, and thank you so much for tuning in. We want to send you two places really quickly. If you can, check out the show notes and click the hospitality.fm link. Check out all of our other shows on the podcast network. And don't forget, if you have someone that you want to hear on the podcast, then fill out the guest fill out form so that way we can get them on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy another episode of Slick Talk, the Hospitality Podcast.